Hello everyone, the objective of today's short video is to demonstrate a quick version of STP2 migration from STP1. We will start by downloading the latest version of Wagemaster, which is STP2 enabled from Google. So you can simply go onto your web browser like I am now and just click on install Wagemaster. Once you do that, it'll take you to our website where you'll see the latest version of Wagemaster. Just go all the way down where it says click here, just click on download. It's going to start downloading that into the downloads folder of your Windows. Wait for it to complete. Okay, once the install is complete, you can just click on this little option here, little icon for folders, and it'll take you to the folder where the download's gone. So we are in the downloads folder now. All we need to do is click on the setup. Just excuse all these latest ones that just click on, you'll only have one there. So just click on the one that you've just recently downloaded. And this should bring up a wizard, taking a little bit of time. Now, on our computer, it's got a bit of an issue because it's security. In your case, you'll just simply get an option to, do you want to start installing? And please go yes. So I'll just put the username and password. Okay. So I've just given the computer rights to install this. As soon as we do that, it's going to pop up with a wizard to install this software on this computer, like you see on the screen. So let's go next, accept all the terms and conditions, go next. Most of this stuff is default, so you don't have to change any of this. You can just keep clicking yes and finally install it where it needs to install it. So click on install, and there we go. I'm going to give it a few minutes till it's completing the installation. Okay, click finish, and this is going to create a short a desktop. It might actually create a desktop shortcut on your computer, which you can delete because you don't need that. You'll be accessing this software through the cloud. So once this has gone through, all you need to do is go into your Wagemaster file manager and open your STP1 Wagemaster file from the latest revision. So I'm going to do this on read only, but in your case, you'll be opening that as a normal file. You can do it on read only if you're just trying it out, but if you want to migrate and if you've done all your mapping and you're ready for STP2, just click on open. So I will get another notification to put the username and password. In your case, it'll just go yes. Do you want to open this? Just go yes. Okay, this will bring up the Wagemaster screen as you'll all be used to. There we go. So first thing, once you are on the screen, you need to make sure that you have the two icons, STP and STP2 setup. What that means is that you are on STP1 at the moment and you're ready to migrate to STP2. You've got the latest software and you've opened the file on. So once you can confirm these two, click on STP2 setup. And the first screen you will see is the terms and conditions. So I'll just tell you STP2 reporting requires more detailed information about all the pay items. So it's trying to tell you all the different screens that we'll go through during this migration. So you can just double check, make sure that you have all these answers. And then once you've done that, you just go next. This is where you check all the company details and your details, the person who's reporting through the Single Touch Payroll. So make sure you've got the right address, you've got right postal address and physical address, contact, phone number, email address, all of that data. Once you're happy with all of this, which should be right if you've got your file set up correctly anyways, go next. And that's the first screen of awards that you'll see. So this is basically, you don't have to do anything here. This is just picking up all the different awards you've got set up on this file. So if there is any discrepancy or if there is anything you need to change, you can't change it on this screen. You'll have to either exit the setup, go back to your awards and do all those changes, or you can just go through it and do it in the end afterwards. Well, because awards haven't changed for STP2, so you can take care of this later. So assuming all of these are the awards that I want on this file, let's go next. Now this is a section where we need to do the work. So this is the point when you bring out your STP2 Part A mapping, which you would have done from the first webinar that we released a few months early, where you would have all the active allowances that you use on this file, and you would have mapped them accordingly. If you haven't done that, please go through the STP2 Part A recording on our website and just do that mapping. It just makes your life a little bit easier because you don't have to sit and guess which one's which. You'll have that mapped out for you. Okay, so at this stage, you open the mapping allowance mapping tool that you would have mapped in STP2 Part A, have it on the other screen so that you can sort of marry the two. So let's start with our allowances. So we've got 9 or 10 allowances on our file. We'll start with the first one on top. I've got my mapping on the left side of the screen that I can see. So we'll start with the first one, which is an addition. So it's a addition allowance and it's bonus. So it's pretty straightforward because it is what it says it is. It's a bonus, which would be on bonus and commissions. So I'll select that. And then I'll look at the other options if it wants me to do anything after this. If it doesn't, then this is all it needs. Let's go to the next one, which is again quite straightforward, uniform allowance. This is going to be part of allowance items. So I can click on allowance. And it should come through other allowances. And it'll be uniform. So like I said, just go through all these different options and pick the right one. We will also be sending you some more documentation or help articles from ATO website on what allowance should be categorized in what way. And that should be part of the STP2 Part B handouts. Otherwise, please give us a call if you have any more confusions. Let's go on to the next one, tool allowance. Again, it's pretty straightforward. It says tools and it's an allowance. So go allowance item and select tool allowance. Again, once you've selected this, if there's no more drop downs, that means you've done, you don't need to do anything any further. Laundry allowance per uniform. It's again an allowance item. Should be part of laundry allowance. So if you don't see this here, you can go into other allowance and see if it's part of that. Otherwise, you can put it as general if you don't see that in any of the options. So in this case, it'll be laundry allowance, and then we don't have anything after. Shearers per unit. So this is again an interesting one. A lot of you would have something like this, which means that it is a gross pay. You pay your gross through allowances, which is fine. It'll be part of gross income. So same with harvest gross per ton, which is also a gross income. So I'll select that as gross. Again, after you've selected that, there won't be anything further. Vehicle allowance per kilometer. This is an allowance item, so it'll go in allowances and drop down again, cents per kilometer. Meal allowance. So meal allowance is a little bit tricky. So if you go into allowance items, you will see an overtime meal allowance here. So if it is for overtime, you can select this. Otherwise, you can go into other allowances and you can go general. Child support is a deduction. So again, we'll have deduction items and we'll select fees. It's not a workplace giving. It's got nothing to do with work, so it'll be a fee. And rental deduction, again, it's a deduction, so deduction item, and it'll be a workplace giving in our case. So again, with these things, just go through the ATO's handout that we'll be sending you as a part of webinar, and make sure you are doing your mapping properly. If you have any confusions, please speak to your accountant or get some more help from a professional. Internet deduction, so this is a tricky one. I should have put this as internet only, not a deduction, because it could confuse you thinking it's a deduction, but it's an addition. So I'm giving an employee internet allowance. So that's why it's an allowance. So this is going to go through as an allowance item as well. And it's none of these. So it'll be other allowance, and either it's going to be general, or I can do home office if I'm paying them for internet use for work at their house. So I'll put this under general. And there we have it. Next. So if you've missed any of this, the good thing is the software is designed that it's not going to let you go any further if you still have any drop downs to select on this screen. So let's see what happens if you go next. So we did it all correctly, which is why it's let us go on the next screen. Again, leave type. So there is no changes to be made here. It's most of the time your leaves are going to be okay, but you can go through them and quickly select whether they're paid or unpaid leave. So one thing that's changed in STP2, you don't have to report the unpaid leave. So in this case, you can see unpaid carers, which is excluded from STP2 reporting. So please go through all the leaves on the file and just mark them accordingly, whether they're paid leave or they are excluded. They need to be excluded if they're unpaid or they're overtime. Okay. Same here. So just make sure that they're all reported accurately what they are. Just go through the drop downs if you have to. And then once you're happy with the way they are reported, just go next. Award. This is miscellaneous loading, so I don't have any loading on this file. That's why it's got no data here. So we can move on to the next one. Now these are union fees. If you guys have any, it'll show you here. And if you need to delete them or amend them, you can amend them in the file later. So go next again. And this is the last bit of our STP reporting, which is mostly to do with the employee type. So this is where it'll tell you what your employee categories are based on what you've selected at the moment. One of the most important things here is if you've got an employee that has been terminated, you need to put a termination date, which you can also do afterwards, but you can do it during your transition. So you can put the termination date and the reason why they've been terminated. And the second important thing is working holiday makers. The government needs to know what country they're from. So I've got the right first one on top is working holiday makers. So I need to select the country. Let's say our working holiday makers from New Zealand. Let's go New Zealand. And for example, this one here, casual employee, say I've terminated this employee, so I can put the, okay, it's not going to let me do the termination date here. So if they're terminated, you just need to go after the wizard's complete and go into the employees and terminate them with the reason. Okay, I don't have any more working holiday makers, so I don't need to do anything else. It automatically knows which employee falls in what category out of the three. Let's go next, and there we go. So now we're ready for testing our connection. So in our case, because it's a test file, we don't have we're not set up for payroll STP2. So it's not going to go anywhere. But first thing you do at this screen is test your connection. Make sure that you get a successful result. So it should say connection successful, which means your file with the password and client ID is connected to the ATO. Once you get that, you just click on finish, and it'll report and it'll tell the government that you have successfully transitioned to STP2. So I'm just going to leave this here because ours is not going to complete because we don't have the right credentials here. So once, in your case, you'll just click on finish and that'll be the end of it. And once you've done that, you will be able to see STP2 only. So this other thing is going to, STP1 is going to go away, which means you're now on STP2. So that was a short video on how to transition from STP1 to STP2. Thank you everyone for watching the video. If this was not enough, please go through our detailed resources from the Help Center or speak to us about Consult so we can do all this work for you. Thank you and have a good day.